Okay, so I have your file, Abigail, and I'm gonna look at what it says. 1 second. All right, come on, where is it? All right, so it says here, I was wondering if there is any way I could end. Wait, how to fix the ink drop footage so it will start at the very beginning of my footage. Okay. It is still showing up a couple seconds behind. Alright, so the ink drop footage. Alright, so here's your ink drop. Okay. Alright, looks like it's turned out really nice. And I'm gonna set this to maybe third quality so that it'll process faster and hopefully it won't mess with my screen recording. Okay, so yeah, this doesn't show. So like you said, you wanted to you want the ink drop footage to reveal at the very beginning. So obviously it's not. It's already 4 seconds. And it reveals your movie at the 4 second mark, right? Okay. So here we are, main comp. And let me see here. Just in case if you don't see exactly what I'm saying, you probably are because this is a file that you sent me. But in case, there's this thing. Was it F4? F4? Yeah, F4 switches toggles in terms of different views of your timeline. F4 gives us different tools. I'm just mentioning this because later on they're definitely going to switch between modes or switch between this type where it has different icons, and they're basically different types of additional tools that you can apply. F4. Anyway, I'm gonna just make this layer name column longer so I can kind of see better like that. Alright, so got your grunge movie footage right there. Okay, so here's your pre-comp. Good. Here's your ink drop. Alright, good. Let's take a look at your my movie footage pre-comp. So I'm gonna double click on it. So I have it selected, your pre-comp, your my movie footage. Double click, and here we are. And let's see what's happening. Here's your timeline. Oh look, there's nothing over here. And exactly at the 4 second mark is when it begins. So what you have to do is grab all of your movie scenes, and we have to shove it all the way at the beginning. But I also notice here, I'm gonna zoom in over here, which is Option and the scroll mouse wheel, and I'm gonna move this bar to my left. You see how it's kind of empty? I don't know if this was intentional and then begins, but I'm kind of neurotic, so I'm gonna just hover over it, yank it so it's complete. That might have been by accident. Okay, next, I'm gonna zoom out. Again, holding the Option and mouse scroll, zoom out. I'm gonna have it. I have everything selected. I'm gonna grab my timeline ticker, shove it to the left. Then, since everything is selected, right? What I'm gonna do is hold down Shift, and I'm gonna left click anywhere within this bar for my layer. Not at the end, but right anywhere in the smack in the middle. And I'm gonna snap it. See, I'm gonna undo it again. And let's see if I try to do it at somewhere like here. It won't let me. It has to be on the, one of these little solid sections. I call it the meat of it. So, Shift, left click and hold, and snap, right there. So now it begins at the very beginning. And if I go back to my main comp, it should, see, begin. So what might have probably got you confused, and it also got me confused when I was first learning, is that your pre-comp container that you just learned about, so it's solid, right? So it gives the impression that there's going to be footage here, like say up to the 4-second mark, because it's solid color, and it doesn't look like this. See, it doesn't look like that. So when it's kind of dulled out and grayed out, you can tell that there's no footage, right, that we learned. But the container, it doesn't show that. It's only when you double click on the container and then you notice that how everything was like here from before. And that's why hence you didn't see anything. So that's mainly that. Always to be mindful of when things seem a little off. And then, so here we are. Boom, boom, boom. We also notice that your fade in and out, which is good, right? But then when it fades in, right? We already see the beginnings of your. Let me undo that. We already see the beginnings of the ink drop, that there's a hole in here. So, but we would like to see the ink drop begin from the get-go, from a small opening and it enlarging, right? So what we can do is, I'm going to select your black solid frame in, right? Fade in, press U, and we see that our fade in starts here and does that. Let me see how long that fade in. Alright, it's a good amount of time. Okay. But I want to have the ink drop, right? And conversely, the movie footage, because they move in tandem. And what do I mean by they move in tandem? So remember how our movie footage container pre-comp, we learned about the set mat, and that how the set mat allows us to link it to our ink drop pre-comp, right? Because the ink drop pre-comp is what is driving and opening the portal, right? The reveal. So what I'm saying is that these two guys, they always have to be paired up. Because let's say if I move this guy right here, your ink drop, right? Which is driving the opening sequence. Let's say I accidentally shove it over here. We don't see it anymore. Because the linking, in terms of the timing of it, is thrown off. You know what I mean? Because right now, there's no timing where your footage and the reveal is not in pairs in terms of time wise. But if I grab it and right here, see that? Now it starts to show. So hopefully that makes some sense. You know, yeah, basically, you see how I'm gonna zoom in? This guy right here starts here, and he starts here, right? Well, let's grab both of it. Your movie footage pre-comp and your ink drop pre-comp, right? And like I said, I want those guys to begin after the fade in, which is here, right? Which we pressed U to show the keyframes. So I grab both of these because they have to be in pairs. I'm gonna shove it right here so that it's gonna reveal. I made a fade in, right? Reveals the initial scene. Then from there, we have pop this. And then boom, 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 boom. And it opens up. And here he comes in, right? And like you mentioned in the next follow-up question, you want to basically review everything, right? Which is true. I didn't get the chance to have us review the whole entire scene. So in that case, I'll discuss that. But also you mentioned that the reveal is kind of weak, you know, like could barely see it, right? So let's work on that. So overall, we grabbed your ink drop and we grabbed your movie footage pre-comp and we chucked it to that it's after the fade in, right? Here's your fade in. And then now it shows. But now, like we mentioned and how you mentioned the email, you want to have this more crisp and clear, which I agree. What we should do is, let's go into your ink drop pre-comp and double click on it. So, like how I discussed, your blacks and your whites determine what's gonna punch through and show. And yeah. So right now it's kind of milky and kind of has a brownish tone to it, and that unfortunately influences the reveal, so that it's kind of weak, and it has to be more pure black and white. So anyway, I grabbed it, right? And we had to apply oh, you did. Oh, unfortunately, let's look at the first one. I'm gonna turn it on and off. Oh. I'm gonna turn all of it off. I'm gonna turn the first one back on. So the first one made it kind of weaker. See how it dulled it out? So that makes the reveal weaker as well. Let's crank some things up. Okay. See how I'm cranking it up? Like right there. Super white and high contrast. Let's see what happens when we look at the main comp. Okay. That will be stronger than that. Let me set it to full. Same thing. Back to third. Alright, so let's go to your ink drop pre-comp. Alright, so it's still gray. So it needs to be more black in here. The whites are good. But let's see, let's mess around. So I messed around with the exposure, which brightened it overall. But also brightened up the inside, which is not what we want. Offset. Let's see if we can, what the offset does. Alright, the offset brings back some of the black, but also brings back some of the brown again. And let's see what the main comp looks like. Oh, look. Okay. Gamma correction. No, I don't want that. So we made a high contrast with the gamma, just 0.99. Maybe some more. Crank it. And then let's see what the main comp looks like. Okay, so it's more. It's kind of interesting. And then it almost feels like painting in a way. So we messed with the exposure. So, you know, I messed around with it slowly, step by step, so that you get high contrast, right? Exposure, offset, gamma correction. These are all useful things. Let's say it translates to photography, translates to Photoshop, whatnot. It's universal in terms of its understanding, in terms of image manipulation. Curves. Turn it back on. Wow, okay. Massive kick. Let's look at the main comp. Boom. Alright. Kind of like that, yeah. Very much more obvious. Let's look at your curves. Yeah, alright, you got a reverse S going on. Let's mess with it a bit. Because I kind of like that watercolor area here. Let's see what that did. Alright. Because this little transition, you can't barely notice it, but it's there, right here. But if we reverse it like that, something like that, something like that. And let's go back here. Alright. Exposure. Poop. Open it up. This exposure doesn't have anything. Ooh, that made it way weaker. I'm gonna turn this off. I'm gonna delete it. Okay, so we worked on that. I'm looking at the effects and presets. Again, that one is here. Windows. Effects and presets. Right here. Control 5. Or I believe Command 5 on the Mac. And then color correction. I'm trying to see if there's anything else we can apply to punch it up more. Maybe the brightness and contrast. Alright, so I double clicked it and applied it here. As you can see, there's nothing going on, it's zeroed out. Let's kick up the contrast. So off, on. And then main comp. Okay, so it looks like that. Turn it off. On. Oh yeah, okay. Right, it made it more. I don't know if you could tell or not. But you know what, let's crank it more. Like that. Super obvious. Alright, did it some more. Okay, so let's look here. Alright. Alright, nice, nice. Alright, cool. I'm starting to like that. So we just cranked up the brightness. Let me just fiddle with something. What if I just turn off this and this? Oh wow, yeah, this is no good. I need to turn it back on. Yeah, that helped out a lot to make it super bright. Or what if I just turn that off, just have this, and I crank it up? No, I can't crank it some more. Yeah, we needed to do all of that because it has an additive effect. You see what I mean? I was trying to see if I could simplify it easier. the process, but it definitely helped out all of it together. So that's brightness and contrast over here, color correction. Conversely, in our effects and presets, you could type out brightness and contrast. So that was good. Next, this guy right here, I'm gonna, I only wanna see our first one, set the solo. I also only wanna see our second one, hit the solo, so that we only see these two. Alright, so nice. So we got that one, right? Let's see what it looks like. Barely can see anything. See that? Right here, barely. So, same thing. Let's crank him up, because it's grayish. Let's start off with, let's first grab the right one, right? Then let's go to brightness and contrast. We added our brightness and contrast, but we have to also make sure that we have the right layer selected, right? Which is right here. Brightness, contrast, let's crank the contrast. Alright, brightness. I'm reversing the brightness. So we see more of it. So the brightness, damn it. I went the opposite way, so you see more of the gray, the contrast. I went forward, so the contrast helps to make it punch out the darks a little bit more. Let's see what it looks like. Because here's our ink drop, and we go back to our main comp, click it. Oh look, we have a nice little gradation now. Zoom, 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 zoom. I think we could use some more. So we used one tool. Let's what else should we mess with? Maybe curves? I double clicked on it. Well, like I mentioned, always make sure you're on the right layer. Let's mess around, something like reverse it. Do this. So this is after, this is before, this is after. Now let's look at the main comp. So we see more of it. I think we could have more. Like that. Let's look at it, the main comp. Now we see some of it some more. Okay. Oh, now we see him more too. Nice. I kind of like it. Alright. Yeah, I don't want to screw with this more. Let's turn on the next one. Again, using your solo, right? And we select it, right? I'm gonna yank on this so you can see the name better. So here it is. It's too weak, right? Let's make sure we have it selected. Then let's add a brightness, contrast. Click, click. Let's reverse the brightness. So we see more gray. We reversed it. Contrast. Contrast didn't do anything. Brightness helped a bit. Then what else can I add? Exposure? Gamma pedestal gain. Maybe we could mess with this gamma pedestal gain. No, I'm not messing with that. Maybe levels. These are all photography stuff. So we got all these little dials. All I do is just mess around. Nope. Let's try the top one. Alright, it's doing something. Let's mess around with this one. I will turn it off. On. I mean, that didn't do much. I mean, this is the reset. It resets it back to normal. Input black. Oh, that makes it look pixelated. Gamma? Oh, that looks like garbage. I don't like it. Let's go back to what we used before, which was exposure. And let's mess around. Alright, that's making it brighter. Offset. And gamma correction. Let's see what it looks like on the main comp. Oh, we start to see some of it, but it's more distracting than anything. I know I used one other one that fixed it really good. Gamma pestle, hue saturation levels. Should I mess with this? Alright, 1 second. Alright, so I looked further into the scene and looking into the circular ink bleed, and when I pressed U to see any keyframes, oh, not U, I pressed T as in Tom, so opacity is at 19%. I think I was the one that recommended this, thinking that we could have a nicer watermark, or not watermark, but watercolor feel, but it was too much. So I just cranked it back up. Ooh, crap. Let me turn off this and this. So we get that. So I turned our opacity back up to 100, and I turned off these additional stuff that we made because it was too much. And when we look back, there it is. Even that's pretty cool. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of on me. But yeah, so we just turned the opacity back up to 100, and then looks a lot better. Okay, let's see what this looks like. Okay. I bet we could even... Ooh, is this moved? 960 by 540. 960 by 540. What the hell is this? What the hell is that? Oh, it's doing that thing. Huh. Right. That's fine. Yeah, it's not doing anything to it. Alright, third. So let's turn that back on. I'm thinking we could press S, as in Sam, And let's scale it bigger, like that. And when we look here, boom, see more of that effect. Kind of like that. And let's do the next one. I'm gonna press the solo for this one, so we only see all of these one step at a time together. And this one, what is this one? Ink reveal excellent. I'm gonna go forward. Where is the excellent? Oh, here, yeah, right there. These guys. All right. So, all right, I'm gonna press T. Opacity is fairly strong. Let me just turn it back to 100. All right, that didn't do much. Yeah, we could just leave it to 100. T as in Tom. And let's look into, I'm gonna turn it off, on. I'm gonna, so look here. Here's that piece, which is here. Ooh. I'm thinking we could even scale this up too. Make it something like that. See, we made it bigger. And then when I look here, you can see it here. Let me check something. Something seems off. So anyway, we turn this back to 100 in terms of its transparency. Before it was like 80 something percent. The scale, I made it a little bit bigger, like 112%, just to make it bigger. All right, let me check something. Okay, so far, you know, it's definitely coming along. All right, okay. Then we got this. All right, this part here could be stronger too. So here's this part, right? And that guy is this one. If I turn off the solo, where it's gone, I turn it back on. And our opacity, which is T for Tom, let's crank it back to 100. Then we look here, so we see a little bit more of it. And then, what do we have under your My Movie Footage? All right. What's your 100%? Okay. Oh, right. What if you added the curves? Okay. All right, let's do that. So that was kind of fast, but what I did was I'm gonna delete that, and then so I looked at your movie footage pre-comp. So here's your movie footage pre-comp. I double clicked on it, and here we're inside of its container. Your main footage, you could use a little bit more kick in its color. So under here, curves, right? And if we could do something like that, maybe reverse, no, maybe not. Something like that. Make it brighter. Because I mean, if we do that, could do something like a reverse. Ooh, okay. So this is before, after, more contrast. and it'll start to show a little bit more. Because it's the purples and how it's kind of this, I don't know what color this is, like light teal. When it blends, it kind of makes it look opaque, you know? Or just, I don't know. It messes with my eyes a bit. So what I did was, in your movie footage, I cranked up the color, right? Using curves. I made sure I'm on our main footage, right? I have it selected. And so I made a reverse like this, which will make that brights bright and darks dark. So that's the reverse S curve. And then you could also add something else to punch up the colors. That's what my mind is thinking right now. Where are you? Hue saturation. And same thing, just mess around. Oh, okay, nice. Maybe right here, more blues. So that's what I did. So before, after, and the master saturation I just put to 11. And then let's see what it looks on the main comp. So it gets more and more stronger, the color. You see the color contrast now? I don't know if you can tell, but it's more contrast. So yeah, that I like better. If we set it to full resolution, see? Much better. That's what I recommend. Set to third. Your movie footage, select it. You could have put a curves to it, like this S, like that. So you get a nice, so this is before anything. See, that's kind of dull. And we put curves to it, and it punches up, and we do this kind of a curve. Then we add a hue saturation, turn it on, so it makes it more contrast. And then, where's that other one? Where's my vibrance? You could add a vibrance to it. So I'm gonna double click, and I'm gonna collapse. Here's your vibrance. All it does is just cranks up the color more. So you could do it some more. Let me just reset it. So it did some more. So off, on, off, on. Wait, maybe some more. Maybe like 12. Maybe 15. So off, on, off, wait, off, on, off, on. So that's vibrance. It's another, I go to this a lot. Yeah. So when you look in the main comp, we'll get more and more together. I'm starting to like this. Alright. So it went up to here. Okay. And then, okay. Almost there. Next one. This guy right here. Let's turn it on. Alright, so we got this, right? So it starts to, it goes out, expands out, right? And let's look at the main comp. Here it is. But we notice how sharp that is. If I set it to full resolution, so you have this nice soft gradation or blurring at the edges, and then you got this sharp thing going on. It's very I don't know. It just doesn't look nice. So in the tutorial, in the class, I didn't get the chance to go over this part, which is another neat tool, which is adding a blur to it. Where you go over here, you type in blur and enter. You got a whole bunch of stuff. We don't need this animation one. We don't need this. I'm just closing it so it won't be confusing. We just need it under blur and sharpen. And I made sure our ink going across is selected. Because I typed in blur right from the beginning. Let's add a compound blur. Let's just add a Gaussian blur. You can't go wrong with that. So there's this thing called a Gaussian blur. And right now it didn't do anything. But when we go over here, under your effects control, and here, you under the blurriness, see it's starting to blur. And if you give it like 20, see? You could give it like 30, gets more of a blur. And then if I go into the main comp, see? Get that going on. You know what, maybe I'll give it, let me close out that, we're back in here, I don't know, what, 60? Go to main comp, boom. I kind of want it more lower. So your blur, your ink going across, I grabbed it. Make sure you have your V, right, as in Victor, your move tool. Something like that. And when we look here, okay. And it's kind of distracting that there's nothing on this side. So, overall, let's see your so opacity 85. Let's crank it back up to 100. Oh, okay, maybe not. Yeah, let's not do that. Let's look at your other one. And I'm gonna turn on its solo. And you see how it's going slow, right? We want some symmetry. And I also want to put it down here. And I'm gonna press Option, zoom in with the mouse scroll, grab this bar, yank it over here. So, alright, so here he is, right, on the left. Here's his bar. You could manhandle it and grab it and just pull it more this way so it begins earlier. See? All of that is possible because we just grabbed it and just yanked it so it starts at the same time as this guy. So see? And I'm gonna press U, Option, mouse scroll. So it's over here, but if we grab our, when we manipulated the time, right? If we bring it back, now he's gonna be faster. See? Let's see how that looks. Okay. But we need a blur. So, Gaussian blur, double click on it. Always make sure you have the right layer selected. And we have it here. Let's set it to what? I don't know, 70? Maybe that's too much. Maybe 60? Maybe 40? Yeah. Then I'm gonna grab it carefully and just make it more level. And then we look here. Okay. I want this to be darker. So let's go back to our ink drop. Ink off, on. Alright, so that's the one. Let's crank it to be more contrast. I'm gonna X this out so we don't have to see the blur option. Color correction, back again. And then, should we mess with the curves? We already have curves on it. Maybe I'll add another one here. Yeah. Let's see what it looks like. Okay. Then maybe I can mess with it some more. Alright, curves, brightness, contrast, exposure again. Again, this is for our ink drop. The ink. I want this to be darker. No. Reverse it. If I reverse it, this gets darker, and we don't want that. That's gonna mess with the scene. Offset. Ooh. If I open this up, you do that. Does that. But it's kind of too strong. Let me reset it. Here, so I'm looking at the gamma. If I go to my left, see how I'm making it darker? That helps a lot. See? Maybe I made it more darker going to a, this way, to my left. Okay. But you see how you got this pixelation. That's just basically, it just doesn't know how to handle it. What you could do is, you could add a blur again. I type in blur, hit enter. And let's add a Gaussian blur. Double click. It should blur this out. Let's put 30. Ooh, okay. I can work with that. But you notice how I have this weird stuff going on. See that? I kind of don't want that. If you uncheck that, it makes it go away. Just be mindful of this kind of stuff. Repeat edge pixel. When you have some weird stuff going on here, you turn it off and it'll take it away. And let's see what that does. Ooh, okay. Much better. Yeah, I like that. So yeah, your ink drop, your ink, we modified it a lot. We added what? The exposure. We just, all we did was mess with the gamma. And then the curves, we kind of did this, make it more broader, so you have more punch to the darks. And then finally, we added the blur because it had that weird pixelation effect. And we made it to a 30. And we also turned off repeat edge pixels. This stuff is like more insider stuff that we know after a couple of years of experience. But so that's an extra little tip to have it off. As a result, boom. Nice, nice. Alright, ooh, look at that. Nice. Oh, that's neat. Nice, nice. Look at that. I like. The hell's... Okay. And then the next one, solo it on. Okay, it's not... Oh, there it is. See, now it's coming out. What the hell is this? What the hell? Oh, I know what that is. Is it this one? Okay, it's not that one. Is it this one? Is it this one? I'm just going down the stack to see what's causing that. Is it this one? Damn it. Let me see if it shows here. Okay. It doesn't seem to have an effect. That weird thing. Because that's from this too. See? Wait a minute. Okay, we added a blur. But, oh, fine. Yeah, leave this back on. Sorry, leave this back on. I mean, not that it matters. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I'm just being neurotic. Alright, so yeah, it's good. Alright, that's 51 minutes. Last thing, you mentioned that you want the whole thing, right? So, let's grab this one. Solo it. Okay, we have that. Alright. Let me see here. Let's see the transparency on it. It's at 100. Right, so I also want it. I'm going to turn it to third again. Slowing down the computer. Grab it. I'm going to just bring it more forward so it begins earlier. Here it is. I'm going to press U. And then I'm going to make it start earlier. See that? Maybe we slowed it down too much. Yeah. So if you look here, it's starting to show here a bit more, but it's kind of purplish. So, alright. I'm gonna close everything because it's expanding. Press M. I only want this. Press U. So let's add some treatment to it like before. I'm gonna press delete so we don't see the blur. Let's go back to our color correction. I have that layer selected. Let's add what, brightness contrast, right? Under color correction, brightness, let's reverse it. Alright. Yeah. I set it to 22 or 46. So off, on. Let me just reset it. Let's look at the contrast. Alright. Contrast. Can work with that. Set it to 100. So off, on. When we look here, boom, starting to show. Okay. And let's make this work for us. Let's make it big. It's at 64%. Let's, yeah, something like that. So you have coverage more coverage. Then when we look here, start to see it there. Maybe more. Oh, and that's too much. Like that. So we got a nice masking effect. Okay. So we did that. I'm looking here. Okay. Let's punch this up more. Maybe add curves. So I have this selected. I add curves. Ooh. I lowered it like that. Let's see what that looks like. Ooh, okay. Nice. Nice. This part right here, it should be more. Oh yeah. It needs to be darker. Can fix that after. But so let's grab this guy, right? And I'm gonna make a copy, which is what? Command D. And I'm gonna press S as in Sam for the scale. Let me close its original. Press S as in scale. I'm gonna unlink it. I wanna flip it. So I think it's what? On the first one right here, I pressed into it. I'm going to the way beginning. I'll put a negative. I hit. No, that's not it. Undo. Maybe it's the next one. Right there. I'm gonna press negative. Hit. There. It flipped it. But why did it do? Alright. I think your pivot point got moved. See, this is your pivot point. Where it should have been over here. So, you know what, this is good. I should show you this. So here's your pivot point, right? I ignored it, thinking it's no big deal, but it's becoming an issue. So here's your pivot point. Anyways, a good review. I'm gonna go over here. Remember that guy I talked about? Click on him. Edit pivot point. Also turn on your snapping. This verifies that it's on. Grab it. See how also the cursor changed? So you grab it. Make sure you're on that right layer, right? Grab it. It's gonna snap. Now your pivot point's there. Always make sure go back, turn off snapping, and go back to set to move tool so everything's turned off. Now, if we do Control D, make a copy, press S as in Sam. I'm gonna unlink it. Under the second column, I'm gonna press negative, enter, and it flipped it over. Perfect. Ooh. Neat. Alright. So it's covering it up, but it's just a little tedious where we have to add more. So that's what I recommend. Adding a couple more. Set it to add your footage. Put it into your ink drop footage folder, right? Drop it in here. Put it on top. I'm gonna turn off your solos. Set it to darken and put it like right around here. And then alright, I don't know what happened, but my computer After Effects, it crashed. And this is a older file. I have my auto save on, but it's still maybe like 20 minutes older. So it doesn't have some of the effects that we just did, about 20 minutes worth of it. But oh, that's annoying. So overall for your project, it's coming along. And like I mentioned, add some more. Like for example, I'll do one real quick. Double click here, or again, you know, insert. Damn it, I'll do it fine. File, import, file, right? And no, ink drop. And I don't know, you could grab maybe this one, ink 01, right? And I'm gonna shove it in my ink drop footage folder. And then I'm gonna grab it, slap it on top, I'm gonna turn off all of my solos because I don't need it. I'm gonna move this guy over right around here. Maybe right around here. I don't know. I need to set it to darken, right? So from here, boom. See how it's coming out? Maybe even earlier. Why is he not showing? Why are you not showing? What the hell? Oh, now is he showing? Wait, yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at that. Alright, because this one's an older file. God damn it, man. Right, remember I moved it. Alright, so pretend this is the working file, whatever. So, right here, this guy, right? Which is here. So basically, you have to keep on stacking ink drops until everything is black. Because now, since we added him, and you kind of time it, you know? So maybe you want to start it here. See how I bring it? See? See? Now we look here, boom. And you don't have to mess with the right click, time. Oh yes you do, yeah. Freeze on last frame, forgot about that. Good. Yeah, we need to do that. But you don't have to pull on this. Because these are secondary and they come after the fact, so we don't need to manipulate it as much. The speed of it. Boom, see? But it's still kind of transparent. So you gotta do your color treatment, color correction. Let's mess with the brightness contrast. Yeah. We turned it negative. And the contrast, we kicked it up. And we look here, boom. But it's still showing. It should be complete. Well, see, I'm looking at that. Okay, yeah. Guess more like that. But this should be completely black. What the hell? I mean, this is... You know what? I'm gonna add another curves. I'm gonna freaking make it black. Yeah, okay, now it's going away. When we really make it black. Like this. Like that. And then over here. Yeah, now it's starting to really go away. So that's good. And then, like I mentioned, you could add a blur. Alright, you type in blur. And you could add just a Gaussian blur. Under blur and sharpen, that's the main one. All these other ones are whatever. Gaussian blur, double click. You could crank it like that. And you could leave on edge pixels. So you got a nice blur going on. Maybe more, like that. Which I set to like 38. Boom, see? And remember this guy, he needs a blur too. And you could try, like grab your Gaussian blur. Again, I'm going to this, like that. That's how I'm doing it. If it gets kind of confusing. Your ink going across 3, right? Which is him, off, on. And what you could do is, whatever Gaussian blur you have, you could do Command C as in copy, Command C. You can go to him, just making sure which one it is. I want to blur on him. I select him, Command V as in Victor. Boom, we add the blur, but it also made it kind of gray, which makes it weak. See? So you could go in here and you add a, X that out, go to color correction, brightness contrast. Then you could go brightness. Ooh, no. Contrast. Off. On. That helped a bit. And then maybe curves. Crank it down. Ooh. Or that might help. But it brings up back the sharpness again. Damn. Maybe something like that. Maybe reverse it. Something like that. Close it, close it. Maybe the brightness contrast, I'll shove it at the bottom so it's at the, it takes more preference. Or maybe grab the blur, shove it at the bottom. No, that makes it worse. So yeah. Maybe ease it up more. And there's exposure. Double click. Maybe the gamma. Yeah, wait. Darker. No, not that. Uh-oh. Anyway, so you can do that, and you're just gonna keep on stacking and stacking until everything gets black, and add your your effects under your color correction and add blurs, and then eventually it's gonna be completely dark. And you're gonna keep on stacking, and then you'll notice that the computer is gonna start to slow down. That's just, it's just, you can't ignore it. It's gonna happen. But then once you're happy with it being completely blackened out, you will save it as a movie file, and you're gonna use that instead. That way your computer is not gonna keep on processing all this stuff happening, and it will bring your computer back up to speed again. But I have to show that in class. I wanted to show that last week, but we were slowed down. So I think that's pretty much everything. I try to be as comprehensive as possible. You also said, I was wondering if there's any way I could end the ink drop and footage early and then stop at the beginning of the scene. I think it would be better aesthetically if the ink drop ended about 14 seconds in. Right? Yeah, I agree, because we're already here. So the way you can do that is, obviously, first of all, everything needs to be blackened out, right? And you want it to be faster. So you could grab. I did shift select. And then you could start shoving it more forward, so it opens earlier and earlier. Press M. That way you could time it so that it ends around here. I don't know, 10 seconds maybe if you want. Something like that. But number one thing is you need more stuff to fill in here, here, and here. Which is why I have that whole collection of ink drops. It's a bit tedious, but it's just what it is. That's how you get that organic feel and that randomness. This kind of stuff, you know, you can't just auto-generate it. So, hope that helps. Okay, let me know if things go wrong. Yeah, bye-bye.